Some of the content is working and some is not. I outright keep telling people I want this to be a chill stream. What happens? No one shows up. When I get told, don't play more mainstream AAA games, then why is it when I play mainstream AAA games, more people show up? What the hell happened? This is Hades 2, a brand new PC game that people have been yelling at me to play new PC games.
Before we actually get into the video, I just want to take a second to acknowledge that this entire pre-stream is nothing but a toxic rant segment. And while I typically try not to skip around too much because I don't want to take the guy out of context, because there's so much nonsense filler during this pre-stream where he often repeats himself, I'm going to try and cut as much of that out as possible as to not waste anybody's time. So if at any point you see the timestamp in the top right hand corner of the screen jump ahead, I promise that it's not out of malice or in an attempt to make DSP look more stupid than he already is. It really is just to save everybody as much time as possible. But let's go ahead and get into the toxicity.
And today, I basically want to have a really important and open discussion with everyone, all right? I feel like right now, we're in the midst of a mix of content. Some of the content is working and some is not. And what we need to do is figure out what I should actually be doing, arguably for the next 2.5 to 3 weeks, until the Elden Ring DLC Shadow of the Erd Tree comes out. I think we can all collectively agree Shadow of the Erd Tree is one of, if not the biggest thing happening this year in gaming. It's definitely the thing that most people want to see me play at this point. And we got a few weeks to kill.
While it's undeniable that there is a large amount of hype surrounding the Shadow of the Erd Tree DLC coming out for Elden Ring soon, I can't help but think that it's a bad idea for DSP to be relying as heavily on it as he is already. Not only does he not really know anything about the DLC, but he's also more than well aware of the fact that there are going to be other content creators that have already played the DLC that are further into it than him, that are more interesting and are just flat out better at the game. So while I'm sure that DSP is going to get a boost in his viewership like he typically does when he plays a FromSoft game, simply because people want to see him rage, I'm not convinced that this is going to be the savior of the channel. I don't think that we should be designing our entire schedule around it. Isn't DSP always going on about how he tries to not put all of his eggs in one basket, yet here we are every time that we have to make a decision, and it's based entirely off of when the Elden Ring DLC is coming out. And it's because he speaks so confidently about this DLC that I hope it fails for his channel. I hope that nobody shows up, but it's a complete flop, a dud if you will. Of course, that's hopeful thinking, but a skeletal lich style bookkeeper can dream, can he?
I know for a fact that we're going to have great content coming. The question is, what do we do in the holes between? What do we do in the meantime? All right. So we're going to have an honest discussion about it, starting with talking about how yesterday went, because yesterday I played both MultiVersus and Hades 2. Okay. And I feel like we're in a situation where there's options, but the options aren't clear what to do. All right. Allow me to outline what's going on, particularly this year of 2024, because today is now June 2nd. So we are almost halfway through the year. We're halfway through at the end of June, but 5+ months into the year. Honestly, can you name me the top 10 games of this year? Can you even name 10 games that would be a Game of the Year contender in 2024? I'm having a hard time this year finding games that will even keep my interest. You know what I'm saying? Like, whether it was release timing, whether it was just too much more of the same, whether it was games that were just utter disappointments, okay? There's just been really bad timing around games, and just it hasn't been a great year.
Of course, DSP is totally entitled to how he feels about the current games market. He can think whatever he wants about whatever game comes out. That's entirely up to him. But what I will say is that the perspective that he has when it comes to the video games and how he enjoys them is completely skewed. And I think that it's due to this perspective that he doesn't enjoy any of these games because he doesn't play them to have fun. He doesn't actually play them because he's interested in them, despite what he says. It's very clear that he's only playing them because his audience wants to see them, or at least they claim to. He's only playing them to make money because this is all the business for him. So while he sat here saying that all of these games are repeats of each other, that the timing is all off, and that none of them are interesting, I'm just not inclined to agree with him. And it's not simply because he's DSP this time, it's because his perspective is so warped and misguided. Of course, you're not going to enjoy any of the smaller games that have been coming out, DSP, all of these indie titles that are absolute bangers. Because he's made it very clear not only is he not into indie titles, but that they don't do well on his channel, so he's not interested in playing them. There's so many different styles of gamer that are absolutely eating out there right now because of the games that have been released so far this year. But due to DSP's narrow view of the video game industry, he is incapable of enjoying almost any of them.
Usually, here on DSP Gaming, in a given year, you can point out all the big releases coming out and say, these are the ones I'm really excited to see Phil play and I'm anticipating them, correct? Same for me. I said, these are the games that I'm anticipating playing this year. This year, every time someone asks me that question, I'm like, I really don't know. You know, I just don't. I don't know what to say. These games don't stand out. The ones that you try end up kind of not being as good as you hoped, or they fizzle out, or they just don't retain an audience. You know what I'm saying? It's a little different for me than a common person who just plays a video game. Not only do I have to entertain myself with a game, I have to entertain a live audience, correct? And that's challenging, especially when this year there have been way too many of the same style of game, i.e. lengthy ass RPGs that all came out within about a 3 to 4 month period back to back. They all killed themselves off. Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Persona 3 Reload, that Grand Blue RPG, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Dragon's Dogma 2, and that's just a few. There's like another 5 in there that I didn't even mention. Within like 3 months, they just killed each other's momentum. It was so hard to entertain any kind of interest on these long-form RPGs. And the one that I finished, Like a Dragon, I got yelled at the entire time for even finishing.
So despite acknowledging the fact that he comes at this from a different perspective, he more than proved my point here. Because all 5 of the games that he listed, yes, they were all RPGs, were enjoyed by many a different people. A lot of people, shout out a lot of people of course, had a lot of positive things to say about all of those video games, and DSP just didn't get to enjoy any of them because he couldn't maintain an audience while playing them. I don't necessarily think that that's a knock on the game at all. The fact that you're incapable of being entertaining, DSP, has no actual merit on the game. And DSP is a self-proclaimed lover of RPGs. You would think that he would have been living his best life at the beginning of the year with all of these choices and games that he could have played. But instead he managed to only play one, and he played it in the most boring way possible for about as long as possible. Everyone can see that the reason that those RPGs wouldn't have worked on the stream, and the reason that Like a Dragon didn't work on the stream, is not due to the games themselves, but instead due to DSP and the audience that he's cultivated.
So I have more interest this year so far on the fighting game content I did with Tekken 8 and Street Fighter 6, with the Return to Elden Ring playthrough, with the Another Crab's Treasure playthrough, right? And with Fallout 4 than I have with anything else this year. That includes all new releases that I tried to play. They just didn't work, okay? And this is an oddity, because usually in the early part of the year, we got a ton of big giant games. Just last year, you had Hogwarts Legacy, which admittedly didn't retain interest the whole way through, but still had a humongous hype beginning. Resident Evil 4 Remake, really great horror remake with new content, you know, it was really great. And that's just off the top of my head, 2 giant games that everyone loved. I can't tell you one this year. None. 0.
I just don't know how he's coming to the conclusion that everybody loved those 2 games at the beginning of last year when there's just no hard facts to prove that. Absolutely, you could look at the sales data and see that they performed very well. And I've heard nothing but good things about the RE4 remake. But it's such a loaded statement to say that everybody enjoyed it, when factually there is going to be a large swath of gamers that are never going to play either of those games simply because they're not interested. And that's going to remain true for every game until the end of time. So I'm just not sure what the qualifications are. I don't know what game is actually going to meet DSP standards aside from GTA 6 and I guess the Elden Ring DLC? And even then, I think that his faith in that DLC is misplaced at best.
Right? So because of that, I have to make decisions on what we're going to be playing on this channel. And I keep asking you guys for honest feedback. And, you know, I get different kinds of feedback from time to time. And, you know, one of the things that over the years people have always asked me for was variety and covering the styles of games that usually I ignore. A lot of people have said that one of the big things and problems with DSP Gaming is that I don't cover the small scale games ever, right? I always cover the big ones, but I never really go to the indie market. You never see me playing these small games that get viral popularity. I tried to change that this year. I played Helldivers, correct? And it blew up in popularity. I played it for a while, and then what happened? It fizzled out. We played it for about a month. It got repetitive and boring, and as of now, there's no new content for it. You know, I'm still following it. They haven't really updated it in a while, and people are actually starting to criticize the game, saying that they might kill their own game if they don't start updating it because there's nothing new to do in it. That's not good, right?
But that's not the reason that it didn't work for your channel, DSP. That's not the reason that people weren't showing up to your streams. It has, again, nothing to do with the video game and everything to do with how you were playing it. How many sessions of that game did you play and you still didn't know what a sample even looked like? How much of the time that you spent playing the game was all for naught because you decided to quit before the mission was over due to trolling or some other reason? And how did you, not once in an entirely co-op game, not ever party up with somebody that you actually had voice communication with and that you actually knew? If you put all these things together, it just sounds like a recipe for disaster, DSP. You apparently don't know anything about the game, you don't finish your matches, and there's no banter to be had, there's no enjoyment. And all of those things share one real cause, and that cause is you. You're the problem with all of your gameplay. You are the reason that people don't show up to these games. It really couldn't be any more obvious.
So, you know, I'm doing my best. Now, one of the things that people have asked for is for me to play PC games, right? Now, Some people are completely misinformed, which is hilarious. They say, you've always had a PC, you just refuse to play PC games. I don't even know what you're talking about. I have a PC over there that's 10 years old, okay? When I bought it, I wanted to play, record, and stream games, and it couldn't even do it when I bought it. I'm not saying it's a lemon, it's not. But basically, I had a rude awakening when I bought that PC that you can't just do everything on one rig. You essentially, if you're going to be a PC gamer, and you're going to play high-end games, you kind of either need a premium rig or you need 2 PCs, you know?
And to address that really quickly for any up-and-coming would-be streamers or content creators, that's absolutely not true. Sure, maybe if you absolutely have to have the best graphical fidelity when it comes to the video game, but inevitably, if you just turned out enough settings, you can have a rather okay experience and still be able to capture the entire thing for your audience, which should be the most important part. But really, any decent gaming rig, as cringe as that is to say, should be more than capable of doing all of those things. DSP just failed to optimize his stream setup when it was time to do so. So now that the PC is what, a decade old, of course it's not going to be able to play anything. But when it was capable, he couldn't simply due to his own mistakes.
What do you do, right? Anyway, so fast forward to the present day, I have a mini PC, right? This was donated to me last year, and quite honestly, I haven't really implemented it yet. I always intended I was going to do this kind of content on it. This is going to be a whole new audience for me. People have said over the years, this is the style of gaming you ignore. Why do you ignore it? You should totally be playing indie games and more PC-centric games. And now you have a mini PC that will run them. Not to say it's going to run high-end games. It's not. Anything graphically intensive, it probably won't run.
And it's exactly that kind of thinking that put DSP in the current position in which he is. He doesn't actually know what his hardware is capable of, especially when it comes to the mini PC. He's also completely unaware of any sort of settings that he could change, whether that be in OBS or on the mini PC or what have you, in order to optimize his setup. He, without fail, just goes for the level 1 dense style assumption when it comes to just about everything. The mini PC is small, therefore it must not be able to run any sort of games, right? So we have to play indies. I'm just always left godsmacked that he has the world's knowledge at the tip of his fingers and can't be bothered to look anything up for himself. If a dent doesn't just come into his chat and handhold him through an entire process and give him tips and tricks on how to optimize his stream setup, then it's never going to happen. Not only is it sad, but it's also incredibly embarrassing, and just makes it obvious that you have no real passion for this and that you're only here for the paycheck.
But why don't you dabble more in indie games, right? So we've been waiting, and we just had that opportunity. We did an Indies Marathon a little over a week ago. It went well. Right? I had a great time. We picked out 3 games during the marathon that said, hey, these could all be future playthroughs that I do. Correct? I mean, this all happened. I didn't imagine any of this. This has all been happening over the last decade. People saying I don't play enough PC stuff. I ignore it. That's unfortunate. Please implement that into my content. And I haven't really had opportunity to do so. Now I have opportunity to do so. Correct?
But who is still waiting around a decade later? When people want to see content, they want to see the content pretty much right now, especially when it comes to video games that they may or may not be interested in playing. If they were interested in seeing a playthrough of a PC exclusive game, they're not going to wait a decade for you to get around to it. They're going to go watch another content creator. And unfortunately for you, DSP, maybe while they're there, they might actually realize that you're not a very good content creator at all, and that everybody else has far more to offer. So due to your inability to somehow not manage to get a PC in the span of a decade, you have potentially lost a countless amount of viewers. The only real question is, how did you not manage to be able to afford a PC throughout the last decade? How did you not manage, despite all of the money that you've made, including the $20,000 windfall of the vestry, did you not put any money to the side in order to actually upgrade your stream with what would be the best upgrade that you could do, a gaming PC? Of course, we know what the answer is. You're a hopeless gambling addict alcoholic, and your vices took priority over the actual business that you claim to be running on a day-to-day basis.
In addition to that, people have said that I should try to play games as soon as they come out. Don't wait. Jump on a game as soon as it's out, because that's when the iron is hot or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And with PC games, that's my problem, is that I just never did that. I always waited, and I would play stuff late. Like Helldivers 2, I waited a couple of months to play it. Well, you know what? Admittedly, I was misinformed on the game. I was told you can't play it solo, that you need a team. Apparently, I was misinformed, because now I know you could just jump in, jump out, drop in, drop out. I didn't know that. Now I know that. And, you know, in a lot of ways, it's very hard to get an education on every single game that's out there now, because there's misinformation and people represent them differently than you would, you know, you need to know. I need to know what a game is before I can even decide if I'm going to play it or not, you know. And I, admittedly, I would have played Helldivers 2 earlier if I had known that I could have played it the way that I did play it. I thought that you needed a dedicated team and it was basically unplayable without talking, and that's not the case, okay?
But that's just an excuse, DSP, because the reality is it's never been easier to get information on a game. There's countless resources out there that you can go to, one of which is the very platform that you're on right now. And while his defense to that would be that you can't trust these paid shills on YouTube or any of these legitimate reviewers, he absolutely could have found a very small content creator that would have spoken honestly about what he thought about Helldivers 2 and given him the proper information that he needed. But once again, DSP is incapable of actually looking into anything unrelated to Hulk Hogan or WWE. And when it comes to the topic of playing games while they're new, while the iron is hot, that should go without saying. If you're going to be playing these new games for an audience, you should be playing them when they're at peak popularity, when your audience is most interested in them, which is typically upon release. I don't know how DSP got it into his head that it was a good idea to play brand new games and pay potentially full price, but insist on playing them a couple of weeks after the game released, a couple of weeks after every other content creator has already completed their playthrough, a couple of weeks after the interest has completely waned on the internet. You don't have to play brand new games in order to attract an audience. You could just be entertaining. But if you're going to rely on a brand new game, you might want to play it when it is in fact brand new and not 2 weeks later.
But anyway, so being told strike when the fire's hot, play when the games are new, right? All right, fair enough. I'll make an effort to do that, right? So the situation that we're in right now, all right? So I have no complaints about Fallout 4, Street Fighter. Every once in a while, you're having an odd night or an odd stream where, you know, attendance is lower, support is lower, but that's just par for the course of any business. It's fine, okay? For me, it's filling in the other gaps. So seeing everything that was going on and hearing everyone's feedback, right? Basically, people say, play things when they're new, branch out and play a bigger variety of games. Okay, great, sounds good. I got a mini PC, let's play Hades 2 right now. It just dropped. It's literally white hot popular against the PC gaming crowd. PC gamers are into it right now, and it's brand new. It just came out a few weeks ago, okay? What about MultiVersus? It literally just dropped, not even a week ago, right? It's brand new. It's something to explore, okay? So I am playing the new stuff, all right? At the same time that I'm saying all of this, all right? There is a mentality among people, all right, that I should just play whatever I want. Like, I mean, Phil, I don't know why you ask these questions for feedback or whatever. I just don't, because you should just be playing whatever you want. If you play whatever you want, you're going to enjoy yourself. You're going to be entertained. It's going to come through in the content. People are going to like it, and it's all going to work out, right?
Ideally, yes, because you should be entertaining enough on your own that even if the game that you enjoy isn't necessarily the most interesting thing, you are, and that is the thing that draws people in. But that, of course, would have required him to actually cultivate an audience that cared for him, that actually enjoyed him because they thought that he was entertaining. And that's most definitely not the case. That's not what happened throughout the years. DSP has always been the person who was playing the hot new games, so of course when his audience shows up, they expect the hot new games.
Okay, that's the feedback I get. Right? Okay, fair enough. So let's talk about what's going on currently. Fallout 4, Street Fighter 6 doing well. MultiVersus. I tried to play it on launch day, didn't even work. Okay? I couldn't even get into the server. And I wasn't going to waste an entire stream sitting here like an idiot clicking, trying to get into the server. Oh, I've done that before. I did that with Street Fighter 5. I did that with GTA Online. I've wasted entire days. Remember Overwatch 2? I'm not doing that anymore. If a game doesn't work at launch, I'm out of there. I'm going to come back when the game works, for sure. I'm not going to waste my time and the viewers' time. We're going to do other stuff.
And if that were the case, then you would have still played MultiVersus on the day that it came out, because there were people in your chat telling you that the maintenance was over, that people were playing the game, that the servers were back up, and that you could have played the game. But instead, you decided to continue to play Street Fighter 6, even though that's not the game that people were interested in, and not the game that you advertised to be playing that day. I understand not wanting to sit at a main menu and wait for the servers to come back up. I agree that that's a waste of everybody's time. I don't even mind the fact that you went and played Street Fighter 6 while you were waiting for MultiVersus to come back up, despite me not actually enjoying your Street Fighter 6 gameplay. The problem is that you never went back, even when people very specifically in your chat asked you to, and specifically told you that the servers were back up. So you can sit there and act as though you didn't want to waste anybody's time and that's why you didn't play the game. But everybody knows that the maintenance was over at a point and you continue to play Street Fighter 6 and outright defy what your audience wanted to see.
So I came back the next day, all right, and we played it. And admittedly, when I played MultiVersus on Wednesday instead of Tuesday, I already noticed the drop-off in interest because it wasn't launch day. There's nothing I can do about that. The game did not work on launch day, right? And the game didn't run very well on Xbox. But basically, I was really enjoying the game, trying to get back into it, right? I liked the gameplay. I just didn't like how the game performed on Xbox. It was choppy, freezing, unfreezing, really stupid, okay? So We played it again on PlayStation 5 yesterday, and this is what I want to get to. So yesterday, I'm playing MultiVersus on PS5, all right? And again, I'm trying different characters and stuff. When I played it yesterday, it performed much better. It wasn't freezing, and it wasn't having those graphical issues, but the connections are still wonky. So half the matches are dropping or end up being laggy, and I'm noticing with the rebalancing they did in the last 2 years, they basically ruined a few characters. Like, Velma is pretty worthless now, and not even really playable, quite frankly. I don't know why anyone would select her. She's so bad, okay? So that was MultiVersus yesterday. How did the stream do? Well, viewership plummeted as I was playing it, and quite honestly, if it weren't for 1 or 2 people who came in with big contributions, the stream would have been also dead in that regard too. I constantly get people now complaining when I'm playing MultiVersus. This game is boring. This game is not Smash Brothers. It tries to be Smash Brothers and it fails. Stop playing it. All right? Now, by the way, this was after a few months of people asking me, hey, are you going to play MultiVersus when it comes out? You know, it's coming out in end of May, early June, right? It's going to be exciting, the full release and everything. So I did what people wanted. They wanted me to check this game out, saying that it was good, or they were interested in it at the very least. And it's out, and now it seems like people have no interest in it at all.
Well, that's the way she goes sometimes, DSP. They can't all be winners. Now, when it comes to the case of MultiVersus, you yourself have addressed the fact that they changed quite a few things in the 2 years that the game has been gone. And from everyone that I've heard discussing the game, it is a lot slower and just a lot less fun because of it. So being that you're aware of this information, you should be able to understand the fact that a lot of people aren't enjoying the game. A lot of people are disappointed with it, and therefore they're not going to want to see it on your stream. So if you absolutely insist on playing MultiVersus, you need to either A, do it off stream where people are not watching you, which I know you're incapable of doing because that's not how you make money, or B, finding a way to make it interesting to your audience, whether that be through some sort of community night or just playing with one other person that you're actually familiar with. And if for some reason you're incapable of doing either option A or B, you need to pick the mythical option C, which is just to quit playing the game entirely, because it should be very clear to you that your audience is not there for you and that they're there for the game. So if you're playing a game that they're not interested in, you're not going to have an audience.
The thing is, I am interested in it. The 2 times I played it, I actually had fun. Now, I was disappointed with Velma that they ruined her. I like Bugs Bunny. I'm having a lot of fun playing with him. I actually want to check out other characters. I want to continue to play. But I'm going to be honest, I don't know if I can. It seems that the common feedback that I'm getting is MultiVersus is not a good game. Don't play it. I'm not getting any actual facts or corroboration of that. I'm just being told that. It's a bad game. Don't play it. Well, what's bad about it? Maybe because the connections are a little wonky and it drops, right? Or, oh, it's not as good as Smash Brothers. Well, no one's going back to fucking play Smash Brothers. The game is ancient now. You understand? It's old. No one is going back to play Smash. It's a moot point. So there's another game from the past that's better than the current one that's new. But this is the current one that's new. This is the one with the new content to explore that people will be talking about. Not fucking Smash Brothers from 5 years ago. No one cares about that anymore. So why are we talking about Smash Brothers, right?
Well, that's really contradictory. Obviously, somebody cares about Smash Brothers if they're bringing it up in your chat and making you talk about it. But I love how insistent he is on the fact that this is the new game, you guys. We have to play this one. Of course, we can't go back and play old games that might actually be objectively better games, because this is the new one. And whether you believe that the people in DSP's chat right now, on screen, are LARPers or not, this is the information that DSP has to go off of. And a lot of them are saying there's just been too many fighting game streams, which obviously I 100% agree with because I'm not a fan of Street Fighter and I don't care for MultiVersus either. But given the way that DSP talks up his own streams, it actually makes sense that this is the common sentiment between these people. He's always going on about how important chat and audience interaction is. How interaction is the difference between streaming and making content on demand. How chat interaction is the thing that changed the entire game for him. It made him actually enjoy making content again. Yet we're doing all of these fighting game streams where he can't look away from the screen for minutes at a time and therefore not actually interact with anybody in his chat. Which then creates another problem, that being that DSP is not moderating his own chat, and since he doesn't have any mods, there's more LARPers than ever and people coming out of the woodwork to not only sneak diss him or outright diss him, but also talk shit about the other people in the chat, the actual dents. And after saying all of that out loud, I've kind of convinced myself that fighting games aren't necessarily content that works for DSP, at least not the way that he currently exists on the internet. Realistically, the only reason that people even care about DSP's fighting content is because they want to see him get salty. They want to see him rage at the game. And since he's unwilling to play into that to any capacity, since he's unwilling to actually make that style of content on purpose, I think it's within his best interest to just stop playing fighting games on stream.
Now let's talk about Hades 2. Hades 2, I'm really baffled at this one, okay? Hades 1 was a game that when it came out was PC exclusive for a while, if you remember, and then eventually it got ported to consoles. When it finally did, I finally had opportunity to try it. And then Hades 2 Early Access just gets dropped in the middle of May as a surprise release. And people outright asked me, would you play it? I said, yeah, I would. We got to have a time when I finish up what I'm working on. But once some of these gameplay throughs start wrapping up, absolutely, I'm all over it. Let's check it out. Why not? Right? And so, with Hades now out early access on PC, you guys voted for it, nominated and voted for it for my Indies Marathon. I think it was the second most voted game. The first was that Noita game, and this was number 2. Okay? So I'm like, oh, neat. All right, let's give it a shot. Sounds good to me. I liked the first one. Played it during the Indies Marathon. Loved it. Wow, this game is great. I wish I could play more, but I got to move on to other games today. But I even said then, let's put it into the rotation. And it seems like there's big pushback. Why? Because this is early access and the game's not done yet. I'm like, yeah, but how much content is in it? Oh, about 20 hours. 20 hours of content in a game. You want me to play it? You want me to wait? It just seems like there's this weird mentality when it comes to PC gaming. Is there some weird unspoken code that you don't play the game if it's unfinished or something? A lot of people play these games in early access, do they not? Why else would they offer it early access?
You're absolutely right, DSP. Of course people play these games in early access. I think that the real difference is that those people have a genuine interest in the game, and that shows through in their content. I think that they have interesting things to say when it comes to the actual gameplay itself. They have observations to make, and they're crafting builds live in front of people. You do nothing of the sort. You just kind of fumble your way around and ask for the chat to make a build for you. And you've outright admitted that that was the case in Hades 1. Now, we've already talked at length how your audience is not actually interested in you, but instead interested in these new games. And being that the game isn't actually finished, that means that it could have an unsatisfactory ending, or it could have features that are just missing and haven't been placed into the game yet. And I highly doubt that at any point you're going to go back and play Hades 2 all the way through, being that the game already has 20 hours worth of content. So I guess the only question is, why would they watch that content, DSP? Why would they be interested in seeing you play this game? You don't offer anything with your personality, and the game isn't in a finished state. Now, if you actually want to address one of the biggest issues when it comes to your Hades 2 streams, it's your actual gameplay. It's very slow, it's very repetitive. There's nothing interesting really going on, and you're not providing any sort of commentary to explain to somebody who's unfamiliar with the game what is going on. You being posted up in gamer mode for multiple minutes at a time and not actually explaining anything that's going on in the game or providing any sort of commentary is going to drive anybody who isn't familiar with the game off.
I don't get it. So I'm in a unique position, okay? I can play a PC game when it's brand new, white hot popular among the PC gaming community. I decide I'm going to do it, so this is an oddity for me, and now I'm being told, you've done the wrong thing. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I'm being told, you don't jump on things when they're popular enough. You should do them as soon as they come out. Okay, I did. I'm playing Hades 2 right now. You should play more PC games. You don't play enough. Okay, I'm doing that right now with Hades 2, right? Oh, but no, you did the wrong thing. Last night when I played Hades 2, we had less than 200 viewers, okay? People that were there were engaged, don't get me wrong. But if it weren't for a big tip that came in from one particular person who actually was someone who had supported my original Hades playthrough as well, that stream would have been absolutely dead for support. I'm not kidding you. And if you don't believe me, check out the videos right now on the channel, okay? Just look at them right now. 2 hour-long playthrough parts, new build, I unlocked new weapons, new build, actually fought a boss and beat it for the first time, fought another boss and lost to it. Those videos have 221 and 145 views. One of them doesn't even have a single like.
And it was at this point when I was watching this clip in my kitchen while making dinner that I actually started laughing out loud hysterically. Because that is so incredibly embarrassing as a content creator, and the fact that he was willing to admit that on his stream is it's just so awful. I'm not gonna sit here and flex viewership numbers. Everybody knows at this point that pretty much all of the detractor channels get so much more viewership than DSP that they're actually doing laps around the guy. But how does he even have videos that have been live for that long that don't have a single like? That's the strangest behavior I've ever seen. Does he have 0 legitimate fans at this point? Have we gotten there already? Doesn't he have paying legitimate members that watch his content and they didn't even leave a like? I just want to remind everybody that at one point DSP was getting hundreds of thousands of views on videos, even millions sometimes. He was making money hand over fist from machinima, and he was one of the top YouTube content creators at a point. And now he's posting videos and they're getting 200 views and not a single like. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Really couldn't have happened to a better guy.
So what am I missing? Because I listen to feedback, okay? I do. I listen to feedback. I'm trying to understand what it is that my audience wants by listening to said feedback. I've been told, you got to play games when they're brand new and they're popular. I'm doing that. You got to play more PC games. I'm doing that, right? You got to have more variety for your streams. Don't only play the big AAA mainstream games. That's too boring. Branch out and do other things. I'm doing that. And this is the response I get. No attendance on the stream, no views on the videos, and everyone complaining I should be doing something else.
Well, have you tried, and hear me out on this because it might be hard to follow, have you tried being entertaining while you play these video games? Because both MultiVersus and Hades 2 would absolutely benefit from some color commentary from you. And I don't mean color commentary in the way that you might think that DSP would be doing color commentary, if you get what I'm saying. He should be capable of having conversations with his chat while he's playing the game. He should be able to relay a story that happened in his real life while he's playing a game to keep people interested, to keep them talking, to keep them moving on to the next subject of discussion. His inability to do such is at the detriment of every single playthrough that he's done. Go watch any other content creator play Hades 2 and I can guarantee you that they have one of three things. Something actually interesting to talk about to keep you engaged while they play the game. Actual knowledge around the game, meaning that they can inform you on what is and isn't a good idea and little tips and tricks along the way. Or just such genuine passion for the game that you can't help but enjoy your time there because they're having such a good time. DSP has none of those things. He has no actual game knowledge. He very clearly isn't as passionate about the game as other people, and he has nothing interesting to say.
So what's going on? Because if you can't tell, I'm getting mixed signals, and that's frustrating because, as you know, I'm trying to improve for the better. I am. I'm trying to put out content that you guys want. This is not just me sitting here playing games for myself. If it were, it doesn't matter. I'm not trying to entertain an audience, correct? This is me trying to put out content that is engaging, fun, and entertaining for you. You find value in it, whether it's, you know, it cheers you up. It's riveting because you want to know about the game. You're learning about the game. You laugh at my rages and my fails, whatever it may be, whatever you get out of said content, correct? That's what I want to provide for you. And what's funny about it is some people have said, it's not about the game. It's about you and your personality. So if your stream basically fails, it's your fault, right?
Yes, absolutely, 100%. That's what I've been preaching pretty much this entire video, DSP. I'm glad that you finally got the message and you're gonna do something about it, right?
The Hades stream, I literally sit here talking to people the entire time about the game, about other stuff. We're trying to have a nice social chill stream. I outright keep telling people, I want this to be a chill stream. What happens? No one shows up. But if I announced we're just gonna do a chill night where all we do is talk for 2 hours, people would have showed up.
No, but those are two completely different situations, DSP, and even you have to know that. There's obviously a massive difference between I want to do a chill Hades night stream where people can pretty much only talk about the video game and things tangentially related, and I'm gonna do a chill late night Q&A style session where you can pretty much talk about anything and ask DSP any question, yes, including if he's punched a bee. They're not even comparable because the content is just so different. And that's of course before even addressing the troll element that is obviously going to be there for the late night Q&A style streams. Sure, maybe he would have doubled his viewer count if he was doing a late night Q&A style stream, but I'm finding it incredibly hard to believe that the increase of 200 people are his legitimate fans.
That means it's not me. That means it's the game. Do you understand? Because if I can say I'm doing a chill stream tonight, we talk for 2 hours and I get attendance and support, and if I say we're doing Hades 2 and no one shows up, it's the fucking game. And I'm tired of hearing everyone, you know, these idiots out there who just want to make everything about me because, again, their narrative is that I'm just a fucking horrible content creator and a scumbag and there's no way anyone could possibly like my content, right? It doesn't make any sense. There's no logical, factual basis for people are saying when they say shit like that, you know? And I'm tired of it.
And I don't think for a single second that it has ever crossed DSP's mind that he changes his behavior on whether or not he's playing a video game. He polices chat differently, he talks about different topics. His attitude is completely changed and obviously his focus is completely shifted. It's really akin to enjoying somebody outside of work, but when you have to work with them at work, they're not exactly pleasant to be around because their demeanor changes and they're not the same person even though they are literally the same person. And this is why it's so important that he does listen to the feedback that is to shorten the pre-stream, because he runs out of topics by the time he's done with it. He has nothing left to say, and then you're just left with nothing.
I want to put out stuff that people want. I don't want to be wasting time. And here's the other thing. Play what you like. I really like Hades 2. I do. I like it just as much, if not even more, than Hades 1. I'm really enjoying this game. And I'm playing it and loving it. No one shows up. Okay? So at this point, it's obvious. We need to have a reevaluation of what I'm doing on the content in the streams because I want people to show up. I can't be playing shit for myself. And the feedback that I've gotten is not very good. Play games when they're new. I am doing that. Play more PC games. I am doing that. Play more indies. I am doing that. It's not working. None of that is working. Those are the streams that are the worst. So don't, when I get told, don't play more mainstream AAA games, then why is it when I play mainstream AAA games, more people show up?
That's a really simple question to answer, DSP. It's because you hype these games up more when they're AAA releases. You go on for weeks on end before the game comes out about how excited you are for them to come out and how you've changed your schedule around and when you're going to be playing them, about how long you think that it's going to take. It's an entire ordeal for you. That and the fact that since it is a AAA game, it is going to have a higher price tag. I would imagine that more people are going to want to see somebody play the game other than them before they purchase the game to see if they like it. With a game like Hades 2 where the price tag is $30, and a game like MultiVersus that is quite literally free, there's not much buy-in. If you don't like the game, you can either refund it on Steam because it's a PC exclusive at this point, or just play it yourself in the form of MultiVersus. But I do like that currently in DSP's chat, there's multiple people, including 672 and Copium, that are claiming that they were watching the UFC pay-per-view Saturday night instead of DSP's stream, and that's why they were unavailable to show up. Of course, hanging out with people in real life and actually having friends is something completely foreign to DSP and not a concept that he would even begin to understand. But don't worry, he's not actually going to take the time to address anybody that's sitting in his chat right now explaining themselves. No, we're just going to continue to cope and rant.
Right? I don't get it. It just seems like the amount of feedback that I get is so wire crossing that there's no way to determine what I really should or shouldn't be doing. Right now, I've got a lot of people who've been screaming, bring back Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. We want to see that game back in the mix. That's great. Where were you when it was new? Literally, we had a stream of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth with less than 200 viewers, with no one engaging. I was basically playing the game for myself. No one was talking in the chat, or if they were completely disengaged and weren't paying attention. Oh, but then if I do a random chill night stream of me just hanging out for 2 hours, everyone's here and having a good time. So it's not me, it's the games. You understand what I'm trying to say to you now? This is the state of the industry at this point, is that the games that are coming out are not engaging enough for a live stream. They're just not.
Oh, because everybody else is having all of these issues with maintaining an audience, DSP. It's totally the game's fault. He's so eager to shirk the blame off to somebody else. Oh, it's the games industry, it's these developers, you guys. They're not taking into consideration me personally, my streams and viewer retention. How about you do something about it then, DSP? Why don't you actually try to be entertaining for once? Why don't you go out of your way to do something that is going to make people look? So desperately does he want to push off all of the responsibility because he has the inability to maintain an audience.
Yeah, you might like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth for yourself because you sat there and you grinded through this insanely long RPG experience that's a big narrative and has all this side content, but for a stream it doesn't engage anymore. These kind of games are too common. They're a dime a fucking dozen at this point. There are too many of them this year. They don't work. They're boring. I agree. I totally agree. All right? But then when I try something different, that also doesn't work. So what is the future here? Because I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to give up on playing video games. That's ridiculous. If it's diversity and I need to break my content up more, then we should do that. We should do different kinds of variety of content. The problem is, I've tried that, and also, people complain about that. Don't you remember that last year I launched a channel called DSP React, and the whole idea was that I was going to do less gaming and more React-style content? So I got a weekly show called DSP versus the Internet where I react to clips. I was doing big React events once a month or once every other month, where I was reacting to documentaries, I was reacting to other YouTuber channels and stuff like that. And what was the feedback that I got last year? Oh, stop doing that. It's not as entertaining as you playing games. Play more games. I'm not kidding. That's the feedback I got. That's literally the feedback that I got.
It should be telling that your audience can't agree what kind of content you should be making, DSP. How did you manage to cultivate an audience that doesn't know what kind of content they want to see from you? And why is the common denominator in all of these situations, that being you, of course, make up the difference and have these people that would not necessarily be interested in this style of content interested in it nonetheless because you are there and you're a content creator that they enjoy seeing?
And I'm like, so okay, we'll stop doing the long-form React events. Instead, we'll play more games. But now we're in a situation, it doesn't matter what game I play, half of them don't stick. So what exactly is the problem here? I'd love to hear that, I'd love to hear what we need to do in order to figure this out, right? What are we going to do? What games are we going to play? What content am I going to put out? I'm here and I'm all ears. I will do whatever people want within reason. I'm not going to completely change who I am as a content creator. I'm not going to start making drama videos. Okay, I'm not going to start slamming other YouTubers and being a piece of shit to other people to get by and get off on that. I don't step on others for success. I never will be that kind of person. So if that's what you're looking for, you're absolutely in the wrong spot. Okay, I'm not getting into politics right now. Right now, politics are such a fucking hotbed of drama and emotion and rage, and a lot of people are really upset with what is going on right now in the realm of politics. I am not going to touch that with a 100-foot pole. I don't want to step into there, because once you step into that arena, you can never step out again. Do you understand? So no, we're not doing that easy bait drama content. I'm not doing that. You know what my realm is. You know what my forte is. Gaming. And so, you know, hanging out, social streams, and reacting to some extent, right? We know what my forte is.
Do we though, DSP? Because there was a very long pause after gaming. And you didn't even sound confident when you said that you were capable of doing social streams and some reacting. As if reacting is some sort of skill that you have to acquire. And I love how unwilling he is to just put his foot down and finally say, I'm not gonna do political content, you guys. That's not something that I want to besmirch my name with. Instead, he continues to fan the flames by saying that he doesn't want to do it yet, and right now it's not the right time. And then immediately go into the react show where somebody has posted up political content for him to watch, which of course he did. I also love that he says that he's not going to do drama content and he's not going to act heinous towards other content creators in order to get over, which is kind of news to me given DSP's history with other content creators on the platform up to this point. You would think that at some point he would capitalize on the situation and realize that people pay more attention to him when he does do that kind of content. I was almost convinced just this past summer that that was genuinely a strategy that he was going for, that every few months he would envelop himself in some sort of content creator drama to keep people entertained. I mean, he was name dropping content creators left, right, and center at the time. But don't worry, you guys, we don't make that kind of content. We're not going to change our entire being because you want drama.
But the question is, what is it exactly that I should be playing then? And I think this year has been a very unique year where, sadly, there is no answer that's a definitive, everyone agrees answer. Last year there was. The year before there was. There's always those games that resonate, that everyone wants to see. And this year, besides Elden Ring DLC coming up, is there any others? And that's really the problem about 2024. We've gotten out to the point in gaming where gaming has become so much about making money, printing the dollar, that most of the games coming out are uninspired, unfinished, bloated, repetitive, grindy, samey pieces of crap. They're not unique gaming experiences anymore that you absolutely want to see your favorite content creator play. Instead, what do content creators have to rely on? Viral, quick, independent games that blow up in popularity and jumping from one to one to one to one to one. And that's not who I am. That's not the kind of person I am. That's not the kind of creator I am. And you all know that. I don't like those stupid viral trending games that you play for a week and you drop and ignore it like they never existed. You know, the fucking Pal Worlds and shit like that. I even tried Pal World. We saw what it was. It was dead within like 10 hours. There was nothing else to do, you know? But this is just constant. This is what has happened with content creation recently. The gaming industry, I feel, is in a big spiral down. And it's because of the people in charge. The people in charge don't want to make good games. They just want to make games that print money for investors. It has lost its way. Because when you do that, you don't have unique gaming experiences anymore that people want to see or look forward to, right? You don't. You don't at all. And what ends up happening is they have to now have people shill their games out and lie about them and say that they're great, or have an NDA where they can't even fucking criticize the game until the day the game comes out. But they can play it 2 weeks early. It's like, what? What kind of a game industry do we have right now, right? So here's the deal. Let's reassess. Right now, let's hit the pause button. And let's figure out together what we need to do to get people interested again. Okay?
And all of that is obviously just a huge misdirection. It's the games industry, it's content creation as a whole, it's NDAs, I guess. Meanwhile, none of these other content creators are struggling to maintain their audience at all. They're still just having a right old time like they've always been. And he talks about these games not making unique experiences that people want to watch their favorite content creators play, which let's agree is true. Why isn't DSP going out of his way to make these experiences memorable? Why isn't he doing things that would make people remember the playthrough and want to show up for it? Things like challenge runs, things like playing with other people. Content like this every once in a while can really rejuvenate your stale, boring gameplay. Why don't you create the experience that you think is missing, DSP? Why don't you actually do something interesting? That's what all of this continues to boil down to, is that you're boring as sin.
The way I see it, we have 2 games in the rotation working, Fallout 4 and Street Fighter 6. We need to find other games. If you guys at this very moment, okay, are telling me MultiVersus is not of interest to you, then I'll say, listen, that's sad to me because I'm enjoying my time with the game. I wanted to play more characters. I wanted to learn more about it, and I wanted to give it a shot. But if you guys are outright telling me you are not interested in MultiVersus, then we'll drop it right now. Okay? I'm not, again, a game that I'm liking and I would like to play, But I acknowledge that I can't just sit here and play what I want to play all day.
And if you were to just get on stream and say this openly, hey, I don't know how you guys were feeling about MultiVersus. You guys didn't seem to be enjoying it. Let's have a discussion in the chat. Make sure you leave, comments on the video so I know what you guys are thinking. And if the common sentiment is that you don't like it, then we're going to drop the game and move on. That's a completely reasonable reaction to have. Sure, is it sad that you were enjoying a game that your audience doesn't? Yeah. But how he talks to his audience and the attitude that he is constantly giving them is just unacceptable at every level. If any other content creator talked to their audience the way that DSP does, they would be all over every other YouTube channel and people would be making fun of them. But because it's DSP, it gets ignored by the vast majority of people because it's just on brand for him.
For any business is like that. If I was a chef working at a restaurant and all I wanted to do was make pork chops, so all I did was make pork chops, and my customers coming in were asking for spaghetti. Well, I refuse to make spaghetti. All I like to do is make pork chops. What's going to happen? The customers are going to leave because they wanted spaghetti and you refuse to make it. You have to give to your customer base what they want.
And just like always, this analogy doesn't make any sense. Because when you're a real wizard in the kitchen, you can make just about anything appetizing to just about anybody. I can't tell you how many times I've went over to my friend's house for dinner and his mom made something that on the surface I wasn't too interested in, but because she made it, I went ahead and gave it a try and it was absolutely delicious. The kind of food that completely changed my mind on that ingredient or that food that I wasn't interested in eating to begin with. So just like streaming, cooking is one of those things that if you have the right person with the right skill set doing it, it doesn't really matter what is going on.
So if I like MultiVersus and I like playing MultiVersus and I want to keep playing it and learn more, and your answer is I just don't like MultiVersus, it's boring, it sucks, then I'm not going to play it. If that's the determination that we're coming to today, that's sad because I like it. I like it. I want to keep playing it. I feel like there's more there and it will get better in time as they improve the game or whatever. But if we got to get rid of it, we got to get rid of it. It sucks. I've only done 2 streams of it, but it's life, right? So what can I do? All right, now, in the case of Hades 2, I think this is even more sad because unlike MultiVersus, where people are on the fence about if it's a good game, I think that people can all agree Hades 2 is a great game, correct? I think we all agree. I love Hades 1. Hades 2 is just an improvement on 1. I don't have a single complaint about the game so far. I'm loving it and I want to keep playing it. But if it's literally the least attended, least engaged, least supported, least viewed game that I've done in years, then I shouldn't keep playing it. I should do something else with my time, correct?
He says this now, but the game that he actually decided to just write off instantly was MultiVersus, and instead he decided to continue to play Hades 2 come Tuesday night.
And now I've done 2 major streams of it, or excuse me, 2 night streams of it, I should say, and it has not done well. It has not. In fact, it's getting worse. The more I play it, it's getting worse. Last night I couldn't believe, because I'm playing it, and there's like 3 or 4 people in chat who are regulars who are talking with me. Okay? I'm like, okay, this is great. Where's everyone else? Why is it, this is supposed to be like a late night chill stream where we talk, we hang out, we're social while I play. I'm thinking we're going to have conversation, we're going to have fun. No one's talking. The chat is not moving in 3 minutes. There's not a single line in chat. What the fuck? What the hell's going on here? So then I go and look, and it's like less than 200 people on the stream. What the hell happened? This is Hades 2, a brand new PC game that people have been yelling at me to play new PC games.
The way that he talks about it, it sounds like if there's only 200 people in his stream, it's completely normal for there to be no sort of chat interaction going on. It seems completely normal that the chat would be almost completely frozen without Nightbot, which only leaves me more confused. How can you have 200 people on a stream and not one of them wants to say anything to you? None of them are actually interested in the content enough to communicate with you, despite them having a far better chance of actually getting a response from the content creator. But I think that's where we're going to stop the clip for today, because of course there's going to have to be a part 2. I mean, he did rant for the entire pre-stream. There was no way we were going to do it all in one video. But before we go, of course, I want to take a look at some of the comments from my last video. It's big ups to the 60 skulls, as always. Danku Franku says, the second mic arc is so utterly stupid, I genuinely can't even wrap my head around why he is doing this, beyond an obsessive compulsion to spend money. It's probably just a combination of that and his utter incompetence when it comes to the hardware that he uses on a day-to-day basis. He has no idea how any of these pieces of equipment or any of this software actually works. And because he couldn't actually care any less about the quality of his stream, he can't even be bothered to look into anything to actually utilize his equipment properly. Penitent Sin says, my friend Brian, lol. Brian has specifically said they're not friends. But Phil is such a sad, lonely old man that he harbors these delusions of grandeur. And think of how pathetic that actually is. The one person that DSP is willing to call his friend has specifically gone out of his way to state on record that they are indeed not friends at all. Can't say I blame him though. And Batboy555 made me laugh by saying he needs to get some pre-built blinds. Of course, we all know that DSP can't get pre-built blinds, you guys. He has to get the custom style ones that he would have to like build himself or something. I don't know, I just find it really amusing that the other day he went out of his way to say that he doesn't have any working blinds left in his house. The absolute state of the Wakanda that he stays in. But I want to thank all of you guys for watching this video, especially if you made it this far. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video, the part 2 to this one. But until then, make sure that you check out other detractor content and dive deeper into that. Snortex.